Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. I am Lorianne, just a working mom of two toddlers ages 4 and 3 who, much like many of you watching, is trying to balance all the things. My job, my family life, my home life, relationships, the list goes on and on. Speaking of being a busy mom with a lot of responsibilities, I am going to fold some laundry while I make this video for you because the laundry is never ending in this house. Families with more than 4 people in it, how do you do it? How? Because there's only 4 of us and I feel like it's literally, there is always a mountain. I digress. So I was reading an article online the other day and it had some pretty surprising statistics in it about working mothers. Well, I thought they were surprising at first, and then when I really thought about it in my experience, I was like, that probably checks out. For example, did you know that 83% of working mothers say that they face significant challenges in balancing their family and work life? That's a really high percentage, right? But an even sadder statistic is that 61% of working mothers have reported feeling like a failure when it comes to their work and their home responsibilities. And I hate that for us. And I say us because I have absolutely been there before. I have been in those seasons where it just feels like no matter what you do, you are failing. You can't do it right. You're missing assignments at work or deadlines. You are, forgetting important things for your kids, or remembering last minute you had to do something for school, or it just feels like you're constantly drowning in responsibilities, and it can be so overwhelming. Now, it's taken me a while and a lot of trial and error to get to a point where I feel like I've achieved really good balance in my life that I'm comfortable with. And it's not perfect 100% of the time, but for the most part, these things have really been working to help me. And I really wanted to come on here and share the things that I've done, the changes that I've made that have helped me feel so much more balanced in all of my responsibilities, so that any other working moms or just moms who are struggling with that can maybe try these methods too and find some relief for themselves. Because trust me, you're not a failure. You're doing it all and you're doing the best you can. And even though I'm sure most of you know that, it still sucks to feel like a failure. So grab a basket of laundry to fold or a drink to relax with, and let's go through the things that I've done that have really helped kind of change my life. The first step is to build good momentum across all of your different responsibilities. And if you're like, Lorianne, I don't even really understand what that means, let's get into it, right? So this is something I saw on Reddit a while back, and I wish that I remembered the person's username to credit them, but I do not. I do, however, remember they signed their post Andrew. Thank you, Andrew, for your wonderful Reddit advice. In his post, he gave a metaphor that I think is actually really great. And he says, think about a circus performer or like a street performer balancing spinning plates. You'd think that the hardest part is balancing the plates, but really the hardest part is getting the plates to spin fast enough to make the balancing part easy. How do we apply the spinning plate analogy to real life? I'll give you an example. Let's say you're starting a business. In the beginning of starting a business, everything is really hard, right? You're trying to get everything off of the ground. You're trying to get a customer base. You're trying to get processes and systems in place. You're trying to get the right team behind you. Ultimately, you're trying to make money, right? And that's all really difficult at first. But once you get all of those things in order and your business is now cash flow positive, it doesn't require quite as much time, energy, or focus from you. And you're now able to kind of turn your focus somewhere else, whether that be your family, whether that be expanding your business or a new business, whatever it is. You now have the time to do that because this thing is running kind of on its own. And then that's not to say that it'll always be that way and that you could completely neglect it from here on out. We'll get to that in a minute, but it's moving, it's spinning, it has the momentum for us to go focus on something else and get the momentum going there. So you have to achieve that momentum in all the different responsibilities in your life, and you have to figure out what it's gonna take to do that. It might mean dedicating 4 months hardcore to focusing on getting that work plate or that career plate spinning. And then you might have to go back over to your family plate because now you've been so focused over here, you gotta get this one going again. So you might dedicate another couple months to that. Then you might dedicate a weekend to the housework so that you can get everything in the house in order, all those projects that you've wanted to do. Now the housework plate is spinning, right? But once you've achieved good momentum on all of your spinning responsibility plates, you can bounce back and forth from them and you don't have to worry about any of them losing momentum because you're now able to put in little bits of focus all over the place. Now, what happens if you've neglected one of your spinning responsibility plates for a little too long? Hopefully you've built up yourself in the other areas that you can now have kind of clear and honest communication situation. Let's say you've spent the last 5 months really, really dialed in and focused on that family plate. You're spending a lot of time with your family. You're maybe not working as much, or you're taking a lot of PTO, or you're kind of taking the easy route when it comes to assignments and doing things, or you're doing a lot of delegating to the people, you know, on your team. How you fear that you might be looked over for a promotion that you were really hoping for and or really needed for your family. Well, now you've got such a good relationship with your family. That plate is spinning so quickly that you can go to them and you can say, hey, listen, I really need to kind of lock in over here and focus on work. That might mean that I might have to miss a couple things or work on a Saturday or work late or travel a little bit more. I'm really gonna need a little bit more understanding. I'm gonna need all hands on deck to help with things around the house, that kind of thing. And family is family, so everybody's gonna have to pitch in and make it work. And you've given them kind of a time period, right? It's gonna take about 4 months. So this is gonna be life for 4 months. And then once that plate is spinning and it's really moving, you can go back over here, build up that family time more, to build up all of your other plates a little bit more so that everything has that good momentum again. What's scary about that is that clear communication goes the other way too, right? Like if you've been super focused on your work life, you might need to go back to your employer or your boss and say, hey, I've been really kind of burning the candle at both ends, and I'm a little burnt out. My family is burnt out, and I really need to spend some time focusing on that. So I'm probably not going to be available for late meetings. I'm going to be off after 4, like I won't be reachable. And you know, if we could maybe talk about reducing some travel responsibilities for me over the next couple months, I would really appreciate that. Now, hopefully you work somewhere that's understanding of the fact that people have personal lives and families at home that they need to take care of, and that's received well. If it's not, and you work for a company that thinks that they own you just because they pay you a salary, then it might be time to look for a new job. But I digress, that's a whole other video. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is create your list of non-negotiables. Now, your non-negotiables are the things that you absolutely refuse to compromise on. So for an example, I'll give you one of my non-negotiables. One of my non-negotiables is that I will never miss my child's birthday for any kind of work trip or anything like that. I only have 2 kids. These are their birthdays. You can't send me anywhere where I'm going to miss a birthday. I'll come into the office and work if I have to, that's fine, but I need to be home for dinner and cake and presents. I will not miss my child's birthday. Hard pass. And any job that's gonna make me miss my child's birthday is not a place that I wish to give my time, talent, and energy. Another example of a non-negotiable might be for you, right? You might say, I'm on a health and fitness journey. I need to work out at least an hour 4 times a week. And in order to do that, or to fit that in, you might have to say no to a play date for your child, or no to your coworkers for a happy hour cocktail at the end of the day. For the sake of having some flexibility, I would suggest not making your non-negotiable list endlessly long. I would say maybe like 6 or 7 things on there is probably good, because these are the things you absolutely are not compromising. There is no flexibility, so try to be mindful of that when you're making your non-negotiable list. Now that you have your list of non-negotiables, what I want you to do is discover the power of time blocking your daily schedule. This has been an absolute game changer for me. Like, no kidding. I'm one of those people that always has like 15 different things going on, and I'm like all over the place, jumping from task to task, and then ultimately the day ends and nothing has gotten done. I've started folding the laundry, I started that project at work, I started that email, started building something with the kids, but nothing has ever gotten finished. There's a lot of half-started tasks. So time blocking has really helped me. I mean, after I get like the kids wherever they need to be in the morning, and I sit down in my home office and I turn on my computer, the first thing I do is list my big 3 of the day. My big 3 of the day are 3 tasks that have to get finished literally no matter what. Oftentimes my big 3 tasks are usually all work related. Sometimes I got 2 work things in there and like 1 personal thing, but a lot of the times it's my work stuff that like I have to get done. Once my big 3 is done, I take a look at both my work schedule and my personal schedule, right? And I fill in my blocks with any of the things that are like pre-set up. So like if I have a 10 o'clock meeting, that gets blocked in my schedule. If I have a 3 p.m. doctor's appointment, that gets blocked in my schedule. Then from there, I figure out where I'm gonna fill in the big 3, how I'm gonna get that accomplished in the day, and then I break down the rest of my day. Usually I like to start with like 30 to 40 minutes to catch up on emails. Then from there, I might stop and I might take 10 to 15 minutes to make myself breakfast or change out the laundry or do like a house task. Then I get back into starting a work project, and I'll dedicate a chunk of time to that. Now, all the different things that I have to get done are scheduled into my day in chunks of time. As somebody who can get a little bit overwhelmed by a really full to-do list, this actually helps me kind of compartmentalize the tasks of my day so it feels slightly less overwhelming. I even do this with my time outside of work. So like from 5 to 5:40 is like pick up the kids time. From 5:40 to like 6:30 or a little bit earlier is making dinner, and then it's eating dinner until 7, and then it's bath, right down to bedtime, and then how I spend time on, you know, my own projects like my YouTube channel or a household task, and then my time with my husband. Especially because if I don't have a plan for the day, I will opt to just do nothing, right? Like if I don't plan out the last, you know, 2 hours of my day, I will spend it watching Seinfeld, doom scrolling on my phone instead of taking care of the things that I have to take care of. But if I have that schedule set and a timer that's gonna go off and say, hey, now it's time to put away that basket of laundry you said you were gonna, then I know I'm like, oh, my phone's telling me I gotta do it. I make the schedule on my phone. I set the reminders, I set the timer so I know when a block is ending, when a new block is starting, whatever, to keep me on track and on focus. And if you are somebody who struggles with time management, I promise you this will help you. If there's only one thing that you take away from this whole video, please block your time. Now that you've time blocked your daily schedule, do yourself a favor and eliminate distractions. I'm somebody who gets distracted very easily. Ask my husband. It's one of his biggest frustrations with me. So I've had to really work at this because it's not something that comes naturally to me. The biggest distraction in my life is probably my phone. There were points in my life where I felt like I had so little like me time that I would try to sneak that me time into like work time and other time, and all it left me feeling like was like I didn't really give dedicated focus or my all to whatever I was supposed to be doing at that point in time. So like sometimes if a web page that I need for work is taking too long to load, I'll use that as an opportunity to like check my Instagram or my personal emails, but then I get caught up in that longer than I should, and then I look up and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta get back to work. Like it's a whole thing. And so for me, what I would love is to keep my phone in a different room while I'm working, but because I use my phone for like work calls and sometimes people call me on that for work, I need it in the same room with me so I can hear it vibrate, but I cannot keep it on my desk. Otherwise I will be distracted because I'll be working diligently and then I'll see the screen light up. And even if I don't care about the notification, like even if I don't care that user XYZ is live on Instagram, for some reason I will still go and check the app and just scroll for a minute. And it's just a waste of my time. So I typically try to keep the phone across the room on my little side table next to my couch so that when I am working on a dedicated work task, that's all I'm doing and I'm not checking my phone. And I try to schedule little 5-minute breaks in here and there where I can pick up my phone and doom scroll for 4 minutes or whatever. And the same goes for when I'm with my kids, especially when I'm with my kids. The phone goes somewhere else. When I'm with them, that time is dedicated to them. And I found that when I do that, when I reduce all of the distractions when I'm with my kids and I just spend that time with my kids, I feel less guilty in general. My demeanor is lighter because when you're on your phone, if you're checking your email, right, and your kid comes up to you and asks you something, even if it's not a priority email, you're like, yeah, wait, give me 1 second. Or you might answer them slightly annoyed that they're interrupting the thing that you're doing, but the thing that you're supposed to be doing is spending time with them. And so every day, the amount of time I get to really spend like at playtime with my kids varies, but whether I only had 30 minutes that day or 3 hours, it feels good no matter what because it was their time and it was like that really good like one-on-one time. Now you're gonna need balance and separation between your responsibilities, specifically your work life and your home life. Blocking your schedules, eliminating distractions, having your non-negotiables, those are all really great starts for putting boundaries in place for how you're going to create that balance, but they aren't the end all be all. You kind of have to take things a little bit of a step further. And that might mean telling your significant other, your family, your friends, hey, between the hours of this and this, I can't be reached. Please don't call me unless it's an emergency. If you're calling me within that time, I'm going to think it's an emergency. And if it's not, I'm gonna be a little annoyed because that is my dedicated work time and these calls would be a little bit of a distraction. And instead offer up a convo during a commute. Hey, I can check in and we can talk about our week and debrief about our day on my commute home. Does that work for you? Or maybe while I'm making dinner or something like that. The same thing goes for work. Once you hit your end time, you're done. Computer's off. You're not checking email on your phone. You're not checking Teams or Slack on your phone. It all ends. We are now out of work brain and we are now into family brain. And I also want to encourage you to keep that same energy of boundary setting when it comes to your time for you. This was really hard for me for a while, and I'm really starting to get to a place now where I'm enforcing this more, even with my own like husband and children. And that's that when it's mommy's time, it's mommy's time. Mommy cannot be reached unless it is an emergency, and this is what would constitute an emergency. Because as much as I love my family, nothing irks me more than when I get a few moments of peace. Like, let's say I've made a nail appointment for myself, and going to get my nails done takes maybe an hour, okay? Just 1 hour. And if I'm gone and you're calling me and I'm still within like that 1 hour window and you're like, oh, when are you gonna be home? Please don't do that to me. Don't try to make me feel guilty about not being home for 1 hour when I am taking time to take care of myself. Obviously my kids are 4 and 3. They don't dial a phone. They don't even have phones. So it's my husband who's letting them call. So obviously it's been me kind of telling my husband, hey, unless I said I was only gonna be gone for an hour to run this errand and it's 6 hours later and you're like, oh, this might be a safety issue, please don't call me. And if it's not an emergency, but maybe it's a question that you have, send a text so that I can get to it when I, feel like checking my phone. Because I might not. I might just want to be alone and not be in communication with anybody. I encourage you to do that because I think it is really important for moms and dads, for anybody who's raising children. It takes a lot to raise children. We often pour so much into everybody else that we're not focusing very much on ourselves, and it is important. Another thing that I want you to consider for achieving balance in your life is keeping your family and like personal life a little bit more low key. I feel like as a society, we've gotten really obsessed with being busy all of the time, so much so that now I see we're kind of having this counter movement of like people wanting a slow, like simple life. And I don't judge anybody for the things that they want in life or how they want to pursue living their life, but there is something to be said for not having to rush and run around to 1,000 different events and activities. Think about it. Let's say that you are a family with 3 kids and each of your kids has multiple hobbies, classes, sporting events, things that they do. Not only is that incredibly expensive, not what this video is about, but it's time consuming. It's time that likely you and your partner have to break up and split and divide and conquer to get everybody where they need to be when they need to be there. You're not seeing your husband as much. You're not seeing all of your kids together as much. You're not getting that core time together as a family that's needed. Your kids aren't getting that one-on-one time with you that they need. They might not be focusing as much on, schoolwork and homework and projects that they should be for their education. I'm not quite at that stage of parenting because my kids are so young. I could have signed my son up for like t-ball this year. I decided to kind of push it off for a year because at that point in time I didn't feel like I as a mom could take on another thing on my plate. I had a lot going on, especially with my work plate. So I urge you to figure out how to achieve that kind of low-keyness in your own family. Maybe that's telling your kids that, each season they get to pick one thing that they're doing, whether that's a club, whether that's a sport or whatever, just like one thing. If you are somebody who has trouble saying no to people, or you have FOMO and so you say yes to all different kinds of activities or requests of you and your time, you have to learn how to make saying no your superpower. Because you can say yes to everything, but there is going to be a cost to that, and most of the time the cost to it is much worse than the benefit of saying yes to the thing. I almost feel like there's almost an epidemic of like overly busy children, and it's kind of unnecessary, right? I totally get that as parents, we sign our kids up for a lot of things that we feel like are gonna enrich them in some way because we wanna raise well-rounded children. But at the end of the day, like I said before, there's going to be a cost to that. Now, my very last point might sound a little bit, I guess, hypocritical, because I told you earlier to like limit distractions and really focus on tasks to make sure that you're getting things done, or that you're spending that quality time with the people that you need to spend it with. And now I'm kind of walking that back to tell you, find the tasks in your day that are simple enough and mindless enough that you can pair together to simplify your workload. Right now on my to-do list today was to film this video, and I also had laundry to fold. I am doing them simultaneously, thus killing two birds with one stone, which is also going to give me some time somewhere else in my day, depending on which plate I feel like needs a little boost. Another thing that I like to do, especially with my 4-year-old when it comes to pairing up tasks, is finding a way to make things that I have to do into teaching moments for him and ways to spend time together. So he recently learned how to fold laundry because I needed to fold laundry and he wanted to play, and I said, hey, why don't you help mommy fold this laundry? I'll show you how to do it. We'll have fun folding laundry, and then I'll get it done faster and we can go do another fun thing together that you pick, like, you know, building magnetile. He didn't mind that it was folding laundry. He thought it was fun. He enjoys being helpful. It's a good little like self-esteem boost for him. I had a valuable parenting moment where I taught my child how to do a life skill that he's going to need to learn at some point anyway. So find those easy mindless tasks in your day that you can kind of pair together, that you're in turn either reducing your workload by like getting multiple things done at the same time, or enriching your own self or your own life or your own relationships while doing something else. Out of all of the methods that I've shared with you today on how to achieve balance between work life and family life, which one do you think would be the most effective in your life? I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. If you liked this video, if you found it helpful, it would mean the world to me if you would give it a little thumbs up, hit the little like button there. It really helps out my channel and I really appreciate that. Because your girl here neglected her YouTube spinning plate for months on end, and now I'm coming back and it feels like I'm starting from scratch. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe for more videos from me in the future. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!